welcome to Connecting Hawaii Business on ThinkTech Hawaii. My name is Kathleen Lee, and I am your host for this program. For today's episode, I am excited to introduce the Executive Director of 7 Gen Culture, Ed Chun. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I had to again, make sure I had your title correct. Point of view, you are leading this organization. Tell us about before we launch into that. Tell our viewers about yourself.
Ed Chun, born and raised local boy here in Kailua, that had the opportunity to travel the world through sports. Got a lot of different learning lessons through that journey of traveling the world that really helped broaden my horizons of what can be. And now bringing that same dream of experiencing through that world journey, bringing it home and be able to share that with our Hawaii. And be able to help inspire our next generations by those experiences that I had, and creating platforms that they can plug into. And goal is for them to achieve further than I was able to go. So yeah.
Let's delve into that further, Ed. What sports did you play during your time when you were in school?
Oh, so I was a multi-sport athlete. I'm a huge believer about being a multi-sport athlete. Even though nowadays most people would say you need to specialize. But for me, I played everything from soccer, football, baseball, basketball, volleyball. The first love was baseball. Actually, from 5 years old to a year in college, and then kind of crazy story in itself is that volleyball joined my junior in high school. So maybe had a collective experience of less than a year before trying out for a college team. And actually volleyball is actually the one that took me even further into that experience around the world. So very grateful for volleyball, even though it was a short-lived experience until that major experience of playing collegiately. It actually allowed me to open up and play internationally. I got to play in Germany at the same time, later in that career. And so it's extremely great and just indebted to it, and now be able to serve our communities in the capacity that it's my responsibility as a local and a born and raised kid of Hawaii, son of Hawaii, you should say, and then now be able to infuse the sports and the passions of sports with the youth of our Hawaii.
I love that. I know growing up, well, I didn't take any sports, but I did take martial arts throughout middle school and high school. And I know to this day, I can fall back on that because I know a lot of my values have come from that. With that being said, Ed, go into why you started 7 Gen Culture and what it's about.
Yes, the 7 Gen. It's for us to be able to bridge everybody together, and that's not just the community, but also generations, right? So 7 Gen is short for 7 generations. So for us, 7 generations, it's practiced by indigenous people such as Native Americans. It's called 7 Gen principle, 7 Gen culture principle. So it takes 7 generations to build a sustainable culture. So it's our responsibilities today to impact tomorrow. So we really got to do our efforts and our part today to really give that one up to our next generation. So it's very important for us to be able to implement those principles into our lives and be responsible to it, so that we can be able to be have a more selfish approach of how we can serve the next person.
I know you mentioned it earlier, and I wish I had recorded you before the interview, but you were talking about the resources that were available to you when you were going through, sports in your scholastic time. Um, Tell us more about why, like, what the need is that you're feeling or trying to provide for the students or the youth that are now up and coming when it comes to
Yeah,
sports.
for sure. Like back in the day, it's kind of tough to say, right? Because I'm getting older as days go on. But then was, it wasn't so money driven. You're playing more community sports, and those were the platforms at that time. And so you didn't really have that major exposure. It wasn't really an existence for club sports to be back then. And just the dynamic and the culture has changed dramatically. So it's very been geared and changed and swayed into different directions. But I felt that with the best of both worlds is to be able to bring all of that together and make it coexist, because then the real priority or the focus in this venture is the athlete, the youth, right? To make sure that we put them first in everything that we do to really serve them in a way that allows them to plug into a platform that elevates their game, elevates their experience, and just gives them the one up and that opportunity to achieve what's next. And again, through these platforms, whether you decide to play the next level or just go into business or school, these characteristics you develop through sports itself should be able to help take you on to other parts and aspects of your life, right? So, we're living it daily. I'm no longer an athlete, right? So, but now those characteristics that I've learned through that journey of being an athlete really helps me in my day-to-day responsibilities in the pursuit of, serving our community.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I don't know. I always think once an athlete, always an athlete. So your claim of not being an athlete anymore, I'm not too sure about that, but I understand where you're coming from. You shared a video with us, so let's go ahead and play it, and then you could talk about it after.
Absolutely.
The sixth annual Trans-Pacific Volleyball Tournament, four-day event featured over 2,000 student athletes.
Underway today at the Hawaii Convention Center.
Local teams face off with the nation's and the globe's best.
It's helping bring national attention to the talent here in the islands.
It's the opportunity for us to share our culture across the globe through sports.
The biggest thing that excites me the most is to see the people's faces as they come into the event. I mean, the atmosphere is just electrifying.
With style, make the crowd go wild. Get that trophy, take a bow, make the
Thank you for sharing that video and tell us about what we just saw. It looks like it was a significant number of people, a significant number of youth. Go into that.
So it's our sixth annual Trans-Pacific Championship, and it's now the largest indoor sporting event in Hawaii. It served, what was it, 5 countries in 9 states, and then the remaining teams were here in Hawaii. So we were able to bring the world to Hawaii and allow that platform to take shape to serve our community and give our community that platform to compete on an international level here at home. That allows us to help our community save money instead of having to travel and get exposure. They get that exposure here locally. They have a national level and international level event here in Hawaii that just gives that exposure across all the different platforms that we had running at the same time. So it's just amazing to see how much the growth has taken shape. It came from a 60 team event. Now this year we had 272 teams, and we had it in multiple venues. So we had it at the convention center, the Blaisdell, and 5 off-site locations at the same time. So a big logistic nightmare, to say the least, for the organization standpoint and behind the scenes, but a huge success as far as what we're intended to do. And our hopes and what we're looking to do is get more community involvement, because we feel this is a very unique way for us to approach tourism. It's a responsible way in how we can approach tourism, and it's been a very successful as far as producing those numbers that we need to see to drive tourism to that next level.
Yeah, I appreciate that, especially since, as you know, tourism is the number one industry in Hawaii currently. What are some ways that your company is tapping into the local businesses as far as collaborations go? I
So
see you kind of already went over it, but
yeah, so we've been really focused on just developing a really good product up to this point. So I really didn't focus on going after the specific partnerships that can help with us the financial aspect of things. We just been really heads down to really put together a product that we everybody can see the vision. So if I came up to people back when it was didn't exist and say, I'm going to have an event that has 5 countries in 9 states and 272 teams, I actually got laughed at multiple times. Now that's a reality, people can see it. The numbers are real. Now there's no denying that it is possible, and then now it's something that's tangible that people can connect with and see the value that we all can be proud of. So now our next scaling point is getting community partners in place to be able to help support the continued growth. Because now, if we all work together for that continued growth, our home gets the benefit through the biggest industry of Hawaii, tourism. And again, in a responsible way, because you have these guests that are coming that are youth. So they are scheduled here. So I can tell you the itinerary. I can educate them properly about our culture. I can be able to hold them accountable to how to act and behave at our home. So there's just too many benefits of why not, right? So that's the reason why we are moving full force ahead in really making this a reality. And so for right now, the supporters that we've had up to this point, Ala Moana Hotels has been awesome. They've been from the beginning. They're one of the few that when I first pitched this idea, they were, "We got you. We'll scale with you. We believe." And they're now basically putting their money where their mouth is and really supporting us in that capacity. Domino's Hawaii, amazing support. Mike has just been incredible as far as that connecting point for us to be able to network into the right areas that need to be, and be able to bring awareness in that specific market, that people need to know what we got going on and be able to find ways to plug in and support. And then this is something that I think the whole Hawaii can stand behind to really make this a viable solution for our tourism market.
I think that is wonderful. Excuse me. So, what are with something that is this big and something that seems to be growing exponentially? What are some challenges that you have ran into since this is a full fledged business? Tell us more about that.
So challenges is inevitable with scaling, as we all know, right? It's really being able to manage the growth first and foremost, but to identify these variables that are really pain points. And I think that's one of the things that we really work hard on, because we're not just identifying problems, but we are solution based thinking. So we try to find solutions to these problems and try to be ahead of them, so that we're proactive versus reactive in these approaches of things of problems. So one of the big ones that we are facing right now is facility space. There is solutions to it, but I think again, it's got to be a collaborative effort across the board around the state and just facilities itself to really make that a reality. Another pain point is just, obviously just the logistics. Can our infrastructure handle? And I think we've scheduled things specifically in the shoulder seasons, right? Because this is something that our tourism market needs in that specific time, and our infrastructure is not really burdened by that capacity that we're looking to build in. So it's just for us, we envision it as a modern day Aopoa'a system, meaning that it's a sustainable approach that can be sustainable if we all work together. And in order for it to be successful at the levels that we know it can be, we have to work together. And I think that brings us back to the point of our culture, is that that's what we were built for. This is who we are as Hawaiians, is to be able to work together as one for the common good of the community. So I think that's what we're really identifying, is that to really put that message out there, we can, and we can doing it together.
I love that. Anything that is community based and community empowering is something I can definitely get behind. The video that you show, the Trans Pacific Championships, it's focused on volleyball. The seven gen culture also deal with other sports?
That's a great question. So we also help with basketball. So we have one that's coming up, President's Day weekend. It's actually a collaboration between volleyball and basketball. So we have a Shaka Classic, and we have things themed according to the culture of Hawaii. So Shaka Classic is a collaboration between basketball, volleyball, and we have its own standalone events for basketball and it has its own standalone events for volleyball. We also have the ability to scale other sports, soccer, or baseball, pylon 7-on-7 football. So there's ability to scale all these other sports, and we have the network to do so. So we are looking to venture off and really bring solutions to multiple different facets of the game, and really bring that all together. Not just multiple sports, but multiple countries to be able to be in here, multiple visitors, so that it's a constant melting pot of so many different things going on in one that's just benefits all. That's what we're looking to focus on.
You mentioned earlier, and I'm not even sure anymore if it was before or during the interview, about finding your calling, finding your purpose. And it seems like, by the way you talk about this, that this is yours. You're very passionate about it. What is your why?
My why is, again, I think, well, I know it's the responsibility to my community, my responsibility to a sport that's giving me everything, right? And so, again, as mentioned in, I think it's pre-recording, it was that not many people get the opportunity to find their purpose in life and walk in it. And daily, I get to walk in my purpose in life and my calling in life, and you get to wake up every day passionate about that, right? And so these things that really motivate me, is the things that I'm passionate about all merge with business opportunity and serving others. So to be able to combine all of that under one, just one big melting pot, it now defines who you are and your purpose in life.
So, Ed, what is on the horizon for you and 7 Gen?
Excellent question. With lots planned. Because the point is that for us, we don't stand still. And as an athlete, there's always what's next as far as your growth, right? So it's our responsibility to find ways to continue to grow. And there's so many growing opportunities that we have in front of us. One that I can mention to you is our next step, that we went from the largest indoor sporting event in Hawaii. Our next growth is looking to be the largest event in Hawaii. So we have a plan to be able to get us to 1,000 team tournament. 1,000 team tournament, which will relate to number wise 48,000 visitors. 48,000 visitors would be larger than the Pro Bowl, larger than the Honolulu Marathon. And we can do this in a way that can be responsible, and then also be able to give back to our local communities all at the same. So for us, that next scaling point is 1,000 teams. It's not something I say lightly, because I know how much work it's going to take in order for us to get there. But again, with the community partners that we aspire to have, and just the right people in place, I can say confidently we will get to that 1,000 team tournament. And I think what I envision it being for Hawaii, it could be multiple 1,000 team tournaments here in Hawaii. And how would it impact us in general is that Florida, who we represent, AAU, Amateur Athletic Union, they do an event in Florida. They do a 5,100 team tournament in June. 5,100 teams over a 2-week duration. It brings $250 million of economical impact to Florida in 2 weeks. So if we were able to model, obviously, to something that is scaled according to the size of Hawaii, we could bring in that type of revenue to Hawaii and its economical development by doing just focus on our sports tourism market that we have been focusing on for the past 10 years.
Okay, so we already talked about, your challenges and what you are looking forward to. So for people who are starting out, I typically ask this for to my guests on the show. For folks who are starting out when it comes to any idea, how would they go about it and, to get to the point where you are?
Yeah, and I think I get this asked regularly, just because the fact that I try to put myself in a position to, like I said, serve and help others to achieve. And I think everybody's dreams and aspirations are valid, but they got to understand what they're getting into when they sit there and dream. And for me, dream big, right? I'm a volleyball player at 5'2", so it doesn't get dreaming bigger than that. But so, for me, what you need to be doing is to be able to make sure you have a plan, and then I think what's also it's huge is to be able to find yourself a team, right? Build a team around you, people that you can trust, people that's going to be with you, that will be loyal with you, and be able to see the vision that you have set, and then put together a really good, clear plan. With that plan, you can add in the benchmarks. With that benchmarks, it really going to continue to have that dangling carrot in front of you that you continue to strive. And as you sit there and be able to achieve those benchmarks, really reflect truthfully to yourself, right? Because a lot of times when you're going through this with a big dream, when you get to that benchmarks, you can get lost in the next big vision. But if you really evaluate for what it is and be honest with yourself and really look yourself in the mirror and really evaluate truthfully, it will help you grow in a better capacity that you can be responsible for each move that you make. And the last thing I think I could add to that is understand how to deal with challenges and failures and really compartmentalize that so that it doesn't control you, but you're able to control it. That failing is just an opportunity for you to learn and for you to put your next foot forward. So it's not an opportunity for you to sit there and whine, blame, and make excuses or move sideways or backwards, but take ownership of where you need to take ownership of and find solutions and take that next step forward in faith, knowing that you are prepared for what's next based off of this experience that you just went through. So that was basically my insight of how to go about being, I guess, successful in a big vision, that whatever your big vision is. And again, everybody has their own journey, everybody has their own path. And for me, each one of them are valid, but just do it wholeheartedly. Put all your heart and soul into it, and it will, at the end of the day, be well worth it.
That was awesome, Ed. I felt like that was a great coach pep talk. Really appreciate it. Applicable to anything in life, really. We have a few minutes left. Is there anything else that you would like to add that we have not covered or talked about?
No, I think just really painting that picture of what responsible tourism looks like through youth sports here in Hawaii, and I think that's a reality that can be looked at, that can be accomplished now, based off the success that we have found just here in recent as January. We've seen something that can impact in such a way that it could transform the way we do tourism. And for me, it's an opportunity for us to do it responsibly. And we have that responsibility to our home, right? And then be able to teach our next generation of what that looks like, right? Allow them to really recognize the platform for what it is, get for what they need out of it, but see the real values behind it, and the principles that really make it what it needs to be, and allowing them to actually be the spokesperson people of our home, right? I want them to be the cultural sharers to our guests, and then allow us to educate our guests properly so that they can see the value of who we are. And I think in that capacity, that allows us to be really responsible in both aspects, really be able to educate our locals and be able to educate our visitors all the same, and then find ways and show them that there is ways to coexist, right? We should be able to coexist. And we locals here, it can happen where we can welcome people in and visitors alike. They can come and be respectful to who we are and what we do here and our way of life. And we would love for us to share who we are as people in our culture that we live. But again, it's that big dream that can be a reality, and I feel the best way to achieve that is like educating our youth, right, so that they are brought up in this culture. And so that's kind of what we want to be able to implement, is to be able to be responsible tourism through our youth, through sports, and really hit that home in everything that we do.
Well said. Let's pull up the website real quick. And while we're doing that, or if we're able to do that, if people would like to learn more about 7 Gen culture, where do they go?
Come to our next event. No, it's our next event's President's Weekend. And the reason why I say that is that for me to share it and tell you about it, or you watch a video, you really don't get moved until you actually put foot in the building. When you put foot in the building and you feel the energy, you understand what I'm talking about why there's such retention with the visitors and everything else, and how and why it's possible to scale. So come to an event, check us out online, 7genculture.com, and that you can find a little bit more of who we are. We have a lot of different things that you'll see if you search just the Transpac Volleyball Championships. You can see it on YouTube. Everybody's posting about it, so it's not hard to find. And I think, at the end of the day, email me. Email me if you want to hear it directly from the horse's mouth. I make myself available to really, educate people, to have people plug in, and just really try to be that conduit to really make this a reality.
Thank you. We have been speaking with Ed Chun, Executive Director of 7 Gen Culture. Ed, thank you again for being on the show today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was an honor.
Thank you. And thank you to Jay Fidel as well, and the entire staff at ThinkTech Hawaii, Jay, Carol Monley, Mike, who is helping us out with the tech today, and Haley. Until next time, aloha.
Uh,